Welcome back! We finally made it. This is the 6th video in the Practical Pedagogy series for physical education implementation of the new curriculum. So in this session, I am going to quickly go over a couple of strategies that I've used and some of my colleagues use, strategies that some of my teams have used over the last 20 years to effectively allow you to track student progress. This one's going to talk specifically about how to track the cusps for the full physical education, wellness, and financial side as well. And yeah, so let's just jump right in. Get this to move. So first one is, how do you track student progress? There are so many different systems out there. There's lots of online apps. We have PowerSchool here. There's all kinds of online things that you can use to simplify that. What I found though is in the gym, especially if you're in the gym, what really works is clipboard, pen or pencil. The reason being is that you're moving around so much, and we now have so many different curricular outcomes, cusps to track, that sometimes it's just easier to see everything on one page. So while we move forward, I'm going to show you a few of those techniques. However, if they don't work for you, don't stress. Remember, I'm just a teacher, right? I'm boots on the ground, boots in the gym. I am working every day with students when I'm at school. So this is something that works for me and that I've developed over years, but if you have something else, go for it. The big thing is that are we tracking how kids are doing on those cusps to inform our reporting on those what are they called? Report card streams, right? So in Calgary, in elementary, we have 2 streams of those. So we have to pretty much condense all of those cusps that we've been teaching and working with students into those 2 report card stems. So for me, I like to keep things fairly efficient. Hopefully that has come through on some of the other sessions I've already done. So I have created one system to kind of cover it all. That being said, it's not just one system. Sometimes I have 2 different systems that I'm using. The other key here is that what you focus on expands. Just a little philosophy for life. But in phys ed, if I'm going to set aside, say, September, January, and maybe May, those are going to be my teamwork. That's when I'm really going to be dialing into some of that teamwork structure and the cusps. So I know that everything I'm talking about, everything I'm having the kids work on is going to have a lean towards those cusps. That will give me enough time to really effectively kind of assess how those students are doing. The other big thing is that this is always for the generalist and also hopefully for the specialist. So it's important to talk to your school team. If you have a phys ed lead, they're the great person to have lead this, and set out what you want to improve and how to track it. Okay. So for example, if you're finding that the students are just really lazy and their fitness isn't improving, maybe that's going to be your 2-week stint. For 2 weeks, you're going to track as much as you can and focus on increasing their cardiovascular fitness. So in math, 3 of the big things, these are my big 3 when I'm teaching math. And I have taught from grade 1 all the way to grade 12. In math, only up to grade 11. However, I'm looking to track their notation. I want to see how they're thinking. And in my class, when I'm working with them, I also want to track how they take risks. What is their resiliency like? Now, these are in addition to my curricular outcomes. When we get to phys ed, this is why I mentioned I have 2 systems. So I'm going to have one document that's going to track and give me a snapshot of where they are on all the curricular cusps that I have covered. The other one is going to be for daily tasks. So this might be a specific skill. It might be a specific leadership piece for that day. Okay. So how do you track? So this is a system that one of my mentors helped me build when I was working with a team, a junior high team where we had 6 phys ed teachers. So usually when we look at an attendance block, like one of those little boxes you printed off of PowerSchool, most people think that there's just one spot in there. In that one little box though, you can maximize your efficiency like crazy by kind of setting up these subcategories within that initial little box. So in junior high, in this one, this was almost an exact replica of what I used to use. This was oh gosh, 12 years ago. But we could track in the middle. As you can see, we have like an L. If they weren't there, we just put a line because that meant they weren't there. We can also track, were they prepared for class? What kind of effort are they putting in? Now you see these pluses and these minuses and these stars. They all had meaning for us. The other thing is that in this one of these quadrants, I could also track, are they showing any leadership? When they play, are they passing the ball? Or are they being that really over competitive kid who just hogs the ball? And the last thing is skill development. So if I'm in a basketball unit, maybe this day I'm going to watch dribbling. And while they're playing, I can give them a quick assessment on how they're doing in that specific skill. So that's kind of an overview. Then we're going to dial into something a little differently. So in this one, again, you can see how what my team would do is that we'd sit down and say, okay, we want to track effort, skill, and leadership. And so we'd all use those same quadrants. That might be a little overkill now, especially in elementary. Okay, our cusps are not as complicated as they are as you get further up. But I want you to kind of see that, because on my day-to-day stuff, I don't take this every day. I don't see my students that often. But from time to time, I'll have my clipboard and I will start tracking that. It's great for parent-teacher interviews. And many parents are surprised when you can show them that clear of a picture of their students. What I'm going to dive in, I'm going to pull up a board here so we can do stuff on paper. And I'm going to show you some of the tools that I've developed for myself, but also hopefully to support you and the rest of people who are kind of looking for some solutions. So the system that I used to use was a plus, a minus, a star, and some other things. But after I sat down and really worked with this, I wanted something for this curriculum that would allow me to add to students' marks. So if they started at an immature or a developing level, and that could be in leadership, that could be in understanding of human development. It could be in spatial awareness. Do they know the difference between asymmetrical or symmetrical and asymmetrical? Then if they move up to a basic level, a 2 in my how I score things in Calgary, a good would be an open circle, and then excellent would be that 4, or that advanced level would be a solid dot. Now, in the bottom here, you can see how I have a double downgrade. We'll talk about that as we move forward. Okay, now I'm just going to jump out of here because I got to go into a different... Here we go. So I'll slide this over here too. Whee! Can fly. All right. So in the document that I've referred to in most of my videos, this is this, I call it the ARPDC scope and sequence. So this is the big Excel document that I'm making available to people that summarizes all of the components of the curriculum. Okay, this is the assessment template. Now, just as a quick aside, I do want to just take you to the grade 1 summary page. So this is the curriculum where I have taken it down and summarized it into more like bullet points. Okay, so for example, for movement skills, in here we have awareness of surroundings, how like awareness of surroundings impacts movement. Students explore spatial awareness and variety of contexts. In this, I have the cusps. So that's the knowledge, the understanding, and then the skills and procedures. So this is the summary document that I have started to create and have created for everyone who's looking forward to it. And why did I do this? Because I really like the content in this curriculum, but where I was struggling was there was very little structure in terms of, if I said, well, what's 1.3? There wasn't a numbering system that allowed me to dial in to pinpointing the skill or procedure that I was expected to test. So with this framework, it actually allowed me to streamline the assessment. Okay, so that's some of the work. And for my specialists who are tuning in, I also have this pulled out for, let's just go to character. I have this also organized so you can take a look at just the character development cusps for every grade up to grade 6. So when you're doing your long range planning or you're looking at, okay, this month I'm going to focus on character development for my assessment of the cusps, it gives you you can print it out as a tabloid and you can still read it. You can kind of check things off as you go. Okay, so I just want to, because I know some of you may not have watched the other videos. So I'm going to go back to this assessment tool template. And I've written this in a way that allows teachers to cut and paste and copy it if you want. Now remember, this is me doing stuff after every class or every other class so I can track. I'm going to pop into the grade 3 because it's just in the middle. So again, at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's our grading scheme. And why would I use symbols and not 1, 2, 3, 4? First reason, I leave my clipboard down a lot. I never explain this to kids. So they just see lines and dots and circles. It doesn't actually have a numerical value to it, except the 2 and the 1. I get that. Okay. And kids who are smart will figure it out. But either way, it's coded in some kind. Number 2, I don't want to be erasing things or scribbling things out. All I want to do is add to it. All right. So when you look down here, these are the stems. This is the entire curriculum in this numeric side. So active living has 4 cusps. Movement skills, there's an A, B, and a C. If you haven't watched the video on understanding the curriculum, that will explain that. There's a lot of embedded structure within the curriculum that took me a while to understand and kind of decode. So my job here is when I'm working on one of these cusps, let's say I'm working on a character cusp. Once I have delivered that and I'm assessing it, I want to see where that kid is. So student name, I want to see what he's got in all of these cusps and which ones I haven't covered yet. So this is like a running record, like you would from math. And what I'm going to show you in a minute is, well, maybe a little more, is how you can give a kid a base assessment. And as they get better, you can add to that. So when it comes time for report cards, you can scan across this and quickly get an idea on where that student is on all of the cusps. Okay, remember, I only have 2 report card stems in elementary in Calgary right now, and I think that's being looked at. But whatever stems you have, that's ultimately what we're responsible to report to the parent. This gives me the background to show that I have taught this, I have assessed them on all of these pieces as well. Now, there's a lot to remember here if we didn't have a backup. So, enter our assessment strands. So what I do is on the back of my assessment sheet, I photocopy this onto it. So this is just the SP, the SP of the cusps, right? The SP is the skills and procedures. These are the actual things that we are responsible for assessing and reporting on. The knowledge and understanding gives us the background. So in here, it's the same numbering system. So let's say I'm doing active living 1.4. I'll zoom in on this here. 1.4. A variety of physical education to experience regularly. Okay. Describe health benefits of regular physical education or physical activity. That's 1.3. So on the back, if I'm deciding that this is going to be the month or couple months that I'm going to initially study active living and talk about that through dialogue and discussion, then all I do is I flip over and I know that I'm working on 3.1 or what is it? 3.1, where was it? Character, yeah, active living. 1.1, 1.2. So these are the 2 that I'm looking to fill out in that block. Now, like every good education STEM, I'm probably going to test that multiple times throughout the year. Okay, so this will be available. This will be one of the resources. It's an Excel spreadsheet. So you will be able to download this, modify it, manipulate it however you want. Okay, now what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to pull up my old school pen and paper. Because, like, to me, phys ed is very much this kind of assessment. Okay, so this is what it looks like on a full size. Like, it's pretty. See if I can get that to zoom in. Come on here. Maybe my face. Hey guys. That's pretty fuzzy. Let's see if I can. Maybe if I come closer. One moment. It's worked in my practice. Fun. Gotta love technology. One sec. We'll do one more shot. There we go. So this is kind of what I would use for my gym. And if I was teaching some of the wellness pieces, some of the nutrition, some of that stuff, I would also have a separate sheet that I would use for my classroom. And this is going to give me that overview of how the kids are doing. So for example, let's say I finished my active living student 1, 2, 3, and I've got a line, a circle, a dot. Over here I've got 2 lines, I've got a dot, and I've got 2 lines. I've got a dot, I've got a dot, I've got a dot, maybe I've got a circle, 2 lines, and a dot. So all of a sudden, I now have a quick profile for active living. Solid dots are going to be my 4s. Okay, my hollow dots are going to be a 3. The 2 lines are a 2, and the 1 line is a 1. So see how quickly you can do that. So after delivering a phys ed class, it doesn't take very long at all. With my junior highs currently, I give them 2 or 3 minutes to get back to class, and I can just sit down at my desk while I'm waiting for them and quickly run down the 20, 27 names, 30 names, and give them a quick mark on one of those cusps. Okay? And when you see it this way, it looks like a lot, but it's actually fairly manageable. Right? And remember, a lot of them have crossover. So that's that piece. Again, this is just the kindergarten one. So what I want to talk about is this symbol system. And the only reason I want to bring this up is because you can use any symbols that you want. You can even use numbers and carry an eraser. If you're using an iPad, man, you can set that up on an iPad, just run down 1, 2, 3, or like whatever you want to do. Okay. But in the gym, I find this way more effective. So for example, if I have a student at the start, I give them a small line. The size of the line actually matters. These little things change. Because if I do that in September, when we get to November, let's say the kid has actually improved spatial awareness. First time, couldn't even like find an open space at all, was running into walls and benches. That kid's at an immature level. Next time, oh wait, he's improving. Now this is a mark as a running record. If I'm putting a report card in, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Now, if you want to get really fancy, I'll show you a system to track their progress in a different way too. Now, by the next time, let's say they've got a 3. Now I can just circle it, but I can see the progress that goes through. Okay. Generally, if students start at a 1, they're not really going to make it to a 4. Okay. So this way I can actually start to track. I do know people who use a different colored pen each time they reassess. So if I had, let's say we start with a line, that's going to be red. Use my 4-colored pen. Next time I do a black. I now know that that is a progress. Now, the other thing, though, is that sometimes students don't advance. They actually get worse. So in this, what I actually use is I use an opposite slash. So if the student is at a 2 and they downgrade, well, I would just cross it once. If a student has, let's say they're at a 4, they blow us away this day. We're like, oh my gosh, this kid can do everything. And then the next time we assess them, it's not as good. What we can do instead of trying to rechange this is I could just put a line through it. So that's a single downgrade. If the student the next day is even worse, something's happened, they've forgotten all their skill, I can even double downgrade that student. Okay? And to most people, that's not going to mean much. But when I go to do my report cards, it makes it really simple. The other way we can do this is, let's say a student starts as a 3. You can actually, like we did before, you can create 2 kind of tally areas. So this would generally be your positive. As a math teacher, I always look at number lines, positive to the right. So in here, if I just add a tick, that would be an upgrade by 1. If I notice that that student goes down, I could just use a tick there as well. Or you could use the slant. And again, it doesn't matter. I've used plus, minus, vertical, horizontal, boxes, all kinds of stuff. Right? So this could be a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. So there's so many different ways to go about it, but I just wanted to show you kind of a tried and true method that I've been relying on for like 20 years in terms of kind of setting myself up to not only track student progress, but to be able to be ready to quickly assess for my report card STEMS too. Okay, so I hope that helps. That's a quick little video on some assessment strategies. As always, let me get this down. As always, if there's anything I can do to support you along the way, let me just put this into a slideshow again. Please feel free to send me an email, paul.marlette@arpdc.ab.ca. That is probably the best one. That's one that goes to my school account in Calgary as well. All right, and please, if you are struggling and you want to talk something through, please feel free. We had a great discussion on the Zoom call just recently on this topic, where we started to look at how to embed some of the wellness frameworks into your phys ed class as well. Not only the wellness, but how to build in those notions in kindergarten about how bodies change or grow at a different rate. So there's so much that you can do between these cusps and almost evaluate them in parallel as well. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the other side.